Good morning, welcome back. I wanted to share an interesting case with you today. So this is kind of a scan review. We're going to be looking at the iTero scan review, but through the Fast Design software. So this is a patient that presented for a routine exam. And as part of that exam, I diagnosed the need for some fillings. So as you can see, we've got some interproximal decay across this upper left quadrant, some other areas needing a little bit of TLC. So what we did is we went ahead and we completed the treatment for this patient. We did some filling work. You can see these two turned out not quite ideal, so we ended up redoing those fillings. Let's see, so we cut out the mesial boxes. We actually redid 14 and 15. But then he almost immediately began having real significant pain. And initially I thought the pain was from us doing and then redoing the fillings immediately that set that tooth off, one of the teeth off. So we did a bunch of cold testing, percussion testing, and it turns out it wasn't either 14 or 15. It was neither 14 or 15. It was actually 13. So this number 13 was the problem. Now, as you can see there, it looks like the restoration's not too deep, but apparently the tooth was not happy with it. And so what we ended up doing was we needed to do a root canal on this patient. So opened up the tooth, completed endo. These incidentally are with the Zenflex 1 size to green, which is the large size. Essentially it's a 35 tip. So normally what I do, we'll go over here to the design process, is I will prep the tooth, and I've done this with CEREC as well. I'll prep the tooth, I'll scan for the crown, and we'll get the crown in the milling process, and then we'll work on the root canal while the crown is being manufactured. So this is the prep. I put a little retention groove there on the mesial to prevent, rocking of the crown after it was bonded, because we have a fairly short tooth. As I mentioned before, the burr that I like to use now, that I'm using primarily zirconia, is an 856016. It's a modified chamfer burr on a high speed. I use the coarse or super coarse. Anyway, so there's the prep. So what I did is I scanned it. We got the crown under process, got everything designed, and then we went back and did the root canal. Let's go back to those root canal images. There we go. So 2 canals, they were each about 20 millimeters from the edge of that cavo surface margin, the internal orifice opening. So ultimately we ended up with a really nice outcome. He was immediately out of pain when the anesthetic wore off. His problem was solved. Again, initially I thought the problem was tooth number 14 or 15, one of these two here. So post-delivery, we had a little bit of cement here that we removed. And one thing that's interesting, and all of you who have used zirconia are aware of this, when you see a zirconia margin let's pull that down, on a tooth, if there are clarify effects or rendering effects that are used, it'll look like there's a giant marginal gap, when in reality there's not. So let's see if it'll open up and I'll be able to show you what that looks like. You can see the margination effect here. If it opens, I'll be able to turn off this clarify effect, and you'll be able to see how the margin is nicely, it's very nicely sealed. So it's an interesting case. We were able to, like I said, complete the root canal and the crown in one appointment. It was about 2 hours. Okay, so here we go. So let me turn this effect off. I'm going to go over here, and it's this crisp effect. So watch what happens to this margin here. Look, isn't that interesting? It's a very nice, well-seated crown, but with this clarify effect, because of the radiodensity differences between the materials, the tooth structure and the crown, it looks like a giant gap. So if you're seeing these, chances are your X-ray software is actually giving you a little bit of distortion because of the calculation that it does to help make it look more clear for us. Anyway, I thought that was interesting to demonstrate. So, good case. This is routine dentistry, bread and butter dentistry, as many would like to say. Root canal and crown, again, we got that cement out of there. Patient was out of pain. These filling replacements look nice and well adapted. Certainly he's going to need some ongoing long-term recare and routine stuff, but we got him out of pain. He's headed on a trip tomorrow, and I'm feeling good that we were able to get him served. But yeah, watch out on your x-rays. Sometimes we see things that aren't there because the x-rays are trying to help us. The software is trying to help us. So it took me a few times of filling around a margin. Nope, that's sealed, and discovering that one of these effects is what's causing that issue. Anyway, so let's go back real quick and look at that prep. One of the keys, again, that we always talk about when we're prepping for fixed restoration is smooth transitions. These edges are a little bit sharp. I could have smoothed that. I did put that retention groove in there. I've started using Optibond Universal and Maxim Elite. Really like that combination. I find personally the Optibond Universal, it seems much thinner to me than other bonding resins I've used. Smells a little different, but I really like the properties of that Optibond Universal. Let me turn the crown back on here, and you can see some design features. So normally when I prep, I'm trying to leave at least 1 millimeter of space in between the tooth and the opposing tooth. So you can see my contact points are indicated with 10 microns of pressure. So as we turn the jaw off, you can see what those contacts look like. Just 10 microns. So if I do 10 microns, I'll probably still have to adjust the contact. Now, realizing this is fully sintered zirconia. This is not lithium disilicate. This is fully sintered zirconia. So these are going to adjust very slowly, like, zirconia does. But if we look at this contact point, I build in 250 microns of cement spacer. So when I prep, I'll always check and make sure there's good clearance. And as I've mentioned before in the video I think I posted yesterday, clearance and reduction are different. So for me, as long as I have a negative number on those high points, within reason, I don't want more than 0.5 millimeter, but as long as that contact is showing a negative number, that means there is a gap. Now, 160 microns is just a little more than 1/10 of a millimeter, and when you squeeze your teeth together, that'll still bring contact because of the ligaments that shift. So anything more than 1/4 of a millimeter usually will give you a little gap, but less than that, in my experience, will lead to still a contact mark, which you may still adjust at when you're bonding in the crown. Let me turn that smooth back on. Anyway, as I mentioned, this was an interesting case, good opportunity to serve a patient. Same day root canal and same day permanent crown. Got him out of pain, so he's not having to worry about traveling. Maybe one thought here while I've got this image up. One of the final things that I like to do, especially for premolars, is take a look down this buccal corridor, because one thing you sometimes see is these cusp tips are way longer than the adjacent teeth. The computer proposes them, or we design them, and they're way longer. They may look good from a buccal or lingual standpoint, but if we don't evaluate what it looks like relative to the other teeth, we could end up with a crown that's got a really high, kind of a vampire type fang. So double check and make sure that you're reevaluating what things look like from the buccal corridor, because this would be very visible to a patient, that second premolar when they smile. All right, thanks for watching. If you're enjoying these videos, like and subscribe, like everybody says, and maybe share. I have plans to put together some additional training, maybe a new dentist training protocol, just to give you an opportunity to learn from some of us that have learned the hard way. Maybe you can accelerate your learning. But yeah, if you enjoy these videos, like and share and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one. Thanks. Bye.